Enric, in my last conversation with the mayor of Boise, we talked about the 30 by 30 initiative. And recently, a UN biodiversity conference came up with a pledge among 200 countries, I think, to conserve 30% of land and oceans. Is 30% enough?
Yeah, I was there in Montreal after 3 plus years of work from many people and groups around the world and leading countries. And now we have agreed, the world has agreed to protect at least 30% of the planet, land and sea, by 2030. And Jack, my friend Jack Dangermond, a few minutes before said that we need more. Actually, we need half of the planet. If we want to prevent the collapse of our life support system, if we want nature to help us prevent a climate catastrophe, while of course we reduce our carbon emissions, we need half of the planet in natural state. That would also help prevent the extinction of what's projected to be 1 million species going extinct this century. And again, it is all these creatures there, from the tiny microbes in the ocean, to the whales, to the plants on the land, to the wolves of Yellowstone that Jack mentioned also. It is thanks to this biodiversity, this complexity of life, that we have a stable planet. The planet is destabilizing because of those combined crises of nature loss and global warming. So we need to reduce our emissions, but also we need to rewild our planet. And that's the target, 20% at least by 2030. And ideally, by 2050, half of the planet would be on a natural state. And that would be much better for humanity, because right now there is not enough wild nature to be able to support 8 billion people, or 10 billion people coming soon.
Enric, I want to challenge you a little bit. It sounds so great. How do we go about doing it? What about the implementation?
That's the key, implementation, right? Because we all have heard of as ambitious targets before, but one of the main issues at the biodiversity conference in Montreal last December was the financing. Who's going to pay for this, right? And it is, and the case of global warming is mostly the global north that has created the problem, and now also including China. And it is the developing countries, the global south, that are suffering the most, and they do not have the financial resources to be able to act, to carry out the actions for mitigating climate change, for reducing emissions, etc. The implementation is going to come, at the end of the day, is going to come at the country level, because it is every country that is going to decide how much of their lands and waters to protect. This is why it's so important, not only for the global north to provide funding so the global south can actually protect the areas that are most important for biodiversity and still in a better shape, but also it is very important to understand that we have to dispel the myth that we cannot protect more of the planet. We cannot protect more of the land or of the ocean because we need to exploit more fisheries. We need to cut more forests to be able to feed more people. That's a myth. We know from hundreds of examples around the world and from our own studies that if we protect the right 30% of the ocean, that 30% is going to produce a spillover of fish that actually is going to help replenish the fisheries around. So this is not just a question of biodiversity. This is a question of food security and the security of human civilization as we know it.